Top Domo ladies, my name is Chez, and welcome back to part 2 of What If JK was in, or should I say KJ, was in My Hero Academia. So where we left off, and sorry about being late, Hank. So where we left off was, I think, USJ fight thing. So, yeah. When they were like getting on a bus and like, of course, before they got into their like superhero outfit thing, I would have to add one thing before they went to that trip. So it evolves around our favorite purple ball little character. So he was trying to peek in the girls' room. But my character's big brother senses kicked in. So he grabs that guy, his entire head, flung him back. And yeah, he basically, and he says, well, thank goodness it would be me, not Jiro. Because he actually, his sister and him watched the Imperial Universe version, like a main version, and of course, he's told them that thank goodness Jiro doesn't poke you in the eye with her tendrils thing. So yeah, he basically said that, and sorry about that. I was trying to walk around, so I had to add that part in, and so then Jiro went and did like her little ear things. As she heard that, she said, thank you, no. He says, as he says, you're welcome, Jiro. As Jiro is like, because she never knew that, because she actually was kind of embarrassed because she couldn't believe that someone actually talked right through without her using her ear things. And yeah, his sister like told them that they were watching My Hero should I say a anime that all of us, or all of it, yeah, or they were telling like, well, there was this one movie that we were watching, Achin, as they're like, or they're like really interested. And then when they heard that it was the main character, they heard who it was. The main character was Zuko Midoriya. Basically, Peter Parker version of, as they're like, as they're like, ooh, so basically he's a main character. As she smiles and she says, yeah, we were watching that yesterday. And I'll tell ya, it was kind of weird at first. But and it gets good at, or like good intros. It had all of you in it, as they're like, what? Hey, don't worry, Mina. Or JK hey, says to Mina, says, don't worry, Mina. It's nothing bad. It's a superhero movie where it's the same thing as in this universe, but in that universe, the Zuko in that universe, because in this what if universe, Zuko has a quirk called like he has the same thing as a combined of Jiro's quirk. Or he has sound wave. He basically, so he can manipulate sound from one place to the other. So he says, huh, and his friend, or should I say, used to be friend, was Katsuki Bakugo. You know, is the jerk of the bunch. And plus, Ochako, as JK was talking to Ochako, as Ochako like says, yeah, huh, well, you should watch it. In that you're so like embarrassed in it, as she's turning red, like, oh sorry, Ochako turning red, as as then now the USA, and yeah, so they went in, they get ambushed by, it's like a normal stuff of like they get ambushed by that and a bunch of villains, yeah. But Toga, like, huh, well, so interesting. But KJ is like, okay, because he's seen what will happen, as as Razorhead tells like 13 that need to protect the children. As J or KJ, like puts his hand on Mr. Aizawa's shoulder and says, "Huh. Well, you might go blind before and get knocked out by that Nomu. I'm just giving you some helpful tip before you rush into battle like you usually do. You know, take out that brain dude, the one with his brain." Hey? As they're like, or class 1B was with them at the time. As they're like, okay, what do you mean? As they're like, as JK, or no, KJ, that's his name, KJ, went transformed into Mr. Aizawa, and like, he punched all villains, he dodges them, and like, got you, son of a gun. As one of his tendrils, like one of these guys, pierced right through his brain. And it overloaded the brain so much, it exploded as he like flipped all the way back, landed right on like a Spider-Man with a Captain America shield. No kind. As they're like, or Toga says, that's awesome. Or some of them are like impressed that KJ moves faster than his after image. And he moves faster than anyone that they even saw. As he uses his tendrils to shock one person, mobilizes all of them, and jumped all the way back from the top of the water fountain, like a flamingo. Oh, he jumped all the way over, all the way. He did 25,000 backflips in about 10 seconds and landed right behind Mr. Aizawa. Or right at the front door. That's pretty impressive. As Toga sometimes loses it when he does that. And they're like, ready to go? As he tilts his head back, or side, and says that, ready to go? As they're like, come on, I want some action. You'll get your action. As he's he does that little horse kick, because it was automatic doors that closed before. So he kicks the automatic part with such force that even like they swore that the building was going to collapse around them. But it ended up did. And so he had, or actually, the door was pretty powerful. So he, as a warp guy says, we planted the ticking time bomb, or nuclear bomb, that can't be disarmed. Now we'll be on our way. As every villain got warped away. Hold on, son. As he actually did one thing. As Mr. Ozawa says, as calm down, students. Because some of them are freaking out. Except for KJ and JK. Because they were because he has the power of infinity, he actually used his own body, or he walked down to the nuclear device thing, and he says, as JK is like looking at him like, get away from there, brother, unless you want to get blown up first. As he says, as he literally grabbed it with both of his hands, tilted his head back, and yeah, he ate it. Like he swallowed it whole. Oh. As they're like, or actually, scratch that. He actually wrapped his entire body around it. Like, he stretches like Fantastic Four kind. And once it went off, or his skeleton was still there, but his flesh was like surrounded the entire bomb. Keeps keeps that explosion to about just pop. Just a noise came out. Yeah. He basically absorbed the explosion. So basically, some of them are spooked that they see his skeleton. So she says, I don't know what the rest of you are complaining about. He's dead, as they're like saying that. As they see like little squirms on the floor. As Toga knows that he likes to separate his entire body into like pieces, and like his skin to surround it and like covers the entire. So he went back to like he's like, oh man, it tickles me as he starts itching his back. So yeah, Toga and the rest of them are like, or they are like, some of them are like a little bit spooked because they ran out. They didn't even check if he was still alive. So then he came back as he's coughing up like blood, like blood, blood. Oh, as he's dusting himself off. As he's like, as even heck, Pro Hero shows up. And they see no villains, but they sure do see a skeleton of KJ. Name. They're like, man, what happened to him? As they see a cocoon of his own skin surrounding the entire nuclear bomb. As they're like, okay, he must use his flesh to so, but only person that really knows that he's not dead is actually his brother, because he tells them he's not dead. He's as the cocoon breaks into like back to his skin things, as he's reforming, his skin all the way back to his old self. So yeah, they're like, whoa, that's creepy. Well, when you have my quirk, it's a spooky quirk. My quirk's basically the combine of the Class 1B students of. He actually does explain what his quirk does. It's basically like hers, as he points to green girl, or green haired girl. Huh? And the both hardening quirks. So basically, so he like boom boom. All right, he can make his skin a lot tougher, with his infinity power and 0. So basically, yeah. And I forgot to mention in the first part, All for One kept winning because he has the kind of like the Omega cannon mixed with Omega Beam. Him. So basically, yeah. So All Might has no chance of winning. But with KJ has the infinity power and like 0. He basically is a hun. So, yeah. He basically. I am skipping the sports festival. Oh. Because how powerful he is. I'm skipping the sports festival internships. And. Or, let's talk about that. His internship was with, let's say, I know she's an American girl, but I'm just gonna put her in. So, yeah, she, her or her agency was with combat and like fight thing. So she ends up um, training 3 people: KJ, JK, and their brother. As they are living, breathing disasters if they wanted to. So basically, and I don't believe I told his there or told you guys in the first one his powers. So his powers are basically is a disasters. So he basically when he gets mad, like when he puts his foot down, um, it causes an earthquake. But when he like gets happy, he claps his hands and it's sunny out. But when he tears up, well, it's the opposite of a sun. It rains. Yeah. I hope it rains tomorrow. So that's just kidding. So yeah. He basically that's what his powers are. As she is basically like telling them, alright, eat. So let's do a little scout around, shall we? The entire city. I forget what that thing is called, but he, they actually, he, or they're like, okay, as she, they flew all the way around. But they like, he flew like in midair, like he can use float ability. Every time he uses it, All Might gets remembered that his masters always had that ability to float thing. So yeah. So he basically won that. As they said before we go, she says, before we go, we need to see what you got. So, do you see that 3 dummies over there? I want you to attack them. As he pulls off his skin and like handed it to his sister, and he pours the rest of his blood into a jar, so he covers it so that if he loses any blood, or he actually regenerates his own skin back. So yeah, he says, ready? Okay, JK, let's see what you got. Well, my powers are, or she explains her powers are. So she basically made a giant sword, and like comes in, and like slices the one of the things. Huh? Not bad. You can turn any item into a weapon or anything. Yeah. Let's do it on a much grander scale, as it was a wrecking ball basically. As when she took it, she made a giant blade that's like bigger than her entire body. So she ends up swinging it, and it like, yeah. So they said, huh, good job. Now, who is, are you ready, KJ? Because he, or she, he see him. I'm like, huh. Well, I am the most powerfulest one. But my skin, I have three things. One quirk, two powers. One quirk makes me like, or he actually could make his skin tougher and like way tougher, and he could. So yeah. So he basically uses his power, and he says, huh. Well, ready? As he's calmly, like, basically, like, through the, so he separates his skin and attacks, and, like, yeah. As it was, let's say it was a robot. The he bonded the entire skin and controls the robot to like kills itself. Yeah. As he reforms, or they all went back into his body, and she's like, "Huh? You control anything and hardening your own body." There is one weakness to that quirk that I forgot to mention. His skeleton. It's his skeleton. If something like destroys his skeleton and like without like the or with immortality quirk, it can be transferred. So basically, yeah. So, but his power, she says, your powers. Let's see. Okay, after your looks like your brother. Huh. As he says, huh. Well, mine is a real disaster. So, like, he gets so mad, like, when he says, it's like, huh. Come on. So show us your power. As, let me do it. Hey, Ming brother. Or, hey, middle brother. No. You're so weak. Come on. Bring it on. Pretend that guy is, I think he's making fun of you for being not picking up chicks. As when he turns and then looks at that robot thing, and he says, Oh, really? As he stomps his foot on the ground so hard that even, like, how will I put this? It's like the real disaster just struck him with such force. Or as that, and she's like, or she looks at KJ, and she says, "You really know how to make your brother feel angry, aren't you? Special, huh? About your powers, a new one, or what are they? Huh? Infinity and zero. I'm not joking about that." As he as they see, or she doesn't see, like, or she didn't realize that the mountain is formed over the water away from the city. As they all turned around, and they're like, okay, ready? As he uses his Powerball move. That's his favorite one. So he uses the Powerball to gather up enough energy and, like, threw it right at a person. And plus he also uses the zero beam. It's opposite to, or it's the counter to All for One's Omega laser thing. So yeah. So All for One? What do you want from me? I'm gonna say to you all. Oh, I was gonna say to you, All for One, watch out. Someone has your beam. I'll see them try. Oh. Oh, wait. I'll see them try. Sorry. So, yeah. He basically. So now I'm skipping the rest. So the camp arc went a little bit different. So yeah. Camp arc, he doesn't need to sleep because his zero quirk allows him to feed off of, like, it's like basically him sleeping, but him staying awake. And he absorbs, like, other dreams of others. So it's basically like, it's not really stealing them. It's like him in it. So, as he basically, then he starts training his quirks all the way to morning. He basically uses both of his tendrils and they basically plugged into his back or his arms, and, like, when they do, he is not mobile, but he's, like, basically recharged so fast that even, like, it could cause a black hole thing. His punches could go right through solid rock. Huh. But when he goes into his connected to his back, he starts walking through the solid objects without having to lift a finger. So, like, yeah. So, and during the, let's go back a little bit to the sports festival. He does meet her, and he basically, or she basically, like, tells him that he looks so cool with his, like, how his skin is like, yeah, they, so basically, like, he or she was like, huh, and yeah. So now we move on to All for One versus All Might. So it goes different. All Might gets, like, injured, like, not like breaking a forehead thing, but his arm was cracked, not all the way through, but so All for One says, huh, as All Might can't move because his body was mobilized. So All for One says, you're just gonna die like your other processors. So now die. As he uses, or All for One uses his Omega Beam thing. But thank goodness his KJ was there. So he literally used his own version of the like, beam. Him. Like, or actually, first he uses his own body as a shield. Or should I say his skin. Or, yeah. He's hardening his body to a point that is like, it's basically like he says, huh, that attack doesn't faze me at all for one. Hun, you're so weak. As they see like his body, as he turns around and tells All Might that, leave this one to me. I'll do it. I don't have a grudge against as All Might realizes that Zuko or KJ has the split quirk, like split his body. But he doesn't know about the infinity. No one does. As All Might says, your quirk. He'll steal your quirk. As he says, I'll let him try. As All for One's, like, hearing it, as he steals All for One stole his quirk. And how about try to use it? All for One. I will. As All for One splits his body into, like, thousands of pieces, and his skeleton was still there. As Zuko uses, or Chenman uses his anti-beam attack as he learned a trick or two from his sister, or from his brother. So he basically uses his own version of the, like, that when he gets mad, he basically bounced All for One's skeleton right to him as he caught it on it, and he tells All for One that I know you don't have, or you do have a mortality quirk, but there's one thing that you missed about my quirk, All for One. It has one drawback, or one weakness to it. You know what that one weakness is? As he says, as he rips All for One's skeletons, like basically like breaking every bone in All for One's body, every bone, like tearing it into atoms. As he says, if a skeleton part of your quirk, or of that stolen quirk, it needs something to return it to. If not, you'll be flesh on the ground. Plus, your quirks don't transfer to when you are in your hardening meat form. So basically, he's like literally stepped on and breaking the skull of All for One. And All for One last words were no. Yeah. So now he's just blood on us everywhere. And like he used, or actually Zuko picked up or not Zuko, KJ, he picked up All for One's immortal quirk, and he uses his zero to destroy it. So he's basically, and all the blood from All for One's he actually stored it into a ball, and like he puts it in a vase. Yeah, he basically killed All for One. As he turns and looks at All Might, and he says, "Are you doing okay, All Might?" As All Might's sweating bullets. He never seen a student from class 1A doing that to the villain. Like, it's the same dude that's hardening his skin, and he absorbed the entire blast too. So he's basically, yeah, All for One, or All Might says, yeah, I'm alright. But how did you know that? As KJ says, well, I did some research on his quirk and his Omega beam, him attack could instant one hit the pro heroes or whoever it points to. But lucky for me, I'm that's why I trained my hardening quirk so All Might was shocked that he did a lot of research on it. So yeah, he basically saved All Might and he killed All for One. Yeah, he basically says, does that mean like it's over for like the villains? As he's emitting off the most powerfulest hero vibes that even or villains like Hero Killer Stain could feel it. Like they could just emit it. They could feel his power. So yeah, the crime rate went down to about 0%. There was no crime. As yeah. So even the Shiraki-sen is scared of his power. So yeah, and I'm skipping the ball or dodgeball thing because it's boring part. And during the overhaul thing, as Sir Night Eyes asked to, before they had their meeting, Sir Night Eyes asked KJ to bring in the world thing. So he brings it as they see Zuko Midoriya quirkless in that universe. And like skipping all the way to right now, and like all that. So yeah, Mushroom Girl is like so surprised at how powerful they seen him. Like everyone that saw the hut, they even had it recorded so that every time someone like ticks him off, they say, look at that rerun. Remember that rerun? As yeah, even his brother is surprised that he had it in him, because he like has that emitting aura. So now overhaul fight. So yeah, and weird part is their father works with or like Toga's his mother, Aries' grandpa, and he works with like heroes, and like he does all that stuff. So yeah, he asks, okay, what are you gonna do today? Well, we got these text messages from his father, or from the Shernites that were having a meeting today. And yeah. So, now tell him hi for me. As, yeah. He also said, and what is the plans? Well, it's plans around saving this girl called Ares and stopping Overhaul from, like, quark erasing bullets. Because Eraserhead, or not Eraserhead, Sir Nine Eyes told him about that stuff. So he says, Ares. As he remembers he talking to the old man about if some, it was way before, or like him working with it, Ares' grandpa, and yeah, he told him that if his father, or if her father dies, as he trusts them with Ares, so like go ahead. Just I know that because he told them. Hmm? Hola.